Hi, I'm here today with my friend and colleague, John Yost, who has a lot of great information to share about his documentary, Alien Abduction Answers, and his future plans and the experiences that he has had throughout his life that have brought him to here. He has an amazing story with a lot of heart and a lot of information for wide audiences. So it's my honor today to welcome John here and to have a conversation with him about his activities. Welcome, John.
Thank you so much, Kosta, for having me. Blessings to you and to your audience. I have to tell you, I've been a big fan of yours for quite a while, and the kind of love and generosity that pours out of you is really a testament to who you are, and really a great example for the rest of us. So thank you very much. I
Well,
appreciate you.
you're very welcome, John. This is a mission of love, and finding people like yourself who are resonant with that and who have something uplifting to offer to wider audiences, for me, is a real blessing, and that's why I'm happy to feature what it is that you have to offer through the incredible experiences that you've lived all your life and are ready now to share with the world. So I'm honored. And I have some questions for you, and
Mhm.
let me bring some of those up. All right, we begin with why do you call this documentary Alien Abduction Answers?
Mm. Um, when I was a kid, 7 years old, back in the 70s, early 70s, I had some experiences that troubled me, and I hid and I lied my entire life till about 3.5 years ago. And when that door was opened, I could not shut it. I needed to find out. And what happened was my need to know was bigger, was more strong than my fear. And that's what it had inspired me, all of that. And you know what it was? I tell you, it's interesting because it's not only just the lack of forthcoming with the information, it's the lying that poisons your life. It touches everything in you. You're a negative person. And I was extremely negative. So I was desperate for answers. Um, and I didn't know where they were going to lead, Costa. I didn't know. The film itself doesn't proclaim to give the audience the answers. What I've learned is that there are literally millions of people around this globe that have had experiences with things that they may not understand. And they're afraid to talk about it. They're afraid to ask about it. So what my film provides is it provides landmarks. When people watch the film, they start to ask their questions of themselves and they can come to their own answers, which is so important because you and I both know, look, if you tell somebody something, they'll throw it out. Maybe they'll pay you some lip service and that's fine, but they really have to come to the truth themselves. So what it is it's like a guidebook. I risk asking the questions that make people raise their eyebrows and make fun of me, and but it didn't matter. I wanted I wanted to help myself, and then the film is a product of trying to help other people.
That was a very spot on answer. And what it leads to then naturally is where exactly did your initial fear originate?
Um, well, as I mentioned, when I was a boy of 7, um, I had an experience. And I found out later that it was one of several experiences, but it was something that was so strange, so, dare I say, alien. It was so out of my norm that it terrified me. And I'm talking about terrified, Costa. And when I tried to talk about it was compounded by the people around me, my family, my father. And I was instructed specifically to lie about it, to obfuscate. And that poison, this is the thing that I had referenced before, that trap you keep that information inside. Well, you can't grow that way if you keep it inside and don't talk about it, don't process it. It's almost like an oven. And what it does is it heats up and heats up and heats up. And I have to tell you that it can destroy lives. When you are filled with that negativity, when you are filled with that, I think the most poignant issue there is this, that my abduction, if you would, want to use those words, my abduction was not the reason for the fear. Looking back on it, the physical manifestations of what happened was not necessarily terrifying. I was a little boy, I didn't understand, but it was really the human component, the humans around me, which exacerbated it. And eventually the compounded pressure it didn't rip the door off the hinges, it ripped the entire frame out of the wall. And when it came, it was not me as a 50-plus-year-old guy dealing with something that had happened a long time ago. It was a 7-year-old boy that had never dealt with anything.
Well, that naturally leads to the question, and maybe you've answered that. How did you deal with that kind of fear? And even more importantly, where are you now with that?
Well, I'm in a different place for sure. About 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, there was an experience. I was on a job and I was out in the desert actually, and something occurred that shook me to the core and destroyed any kind of facade of silence. Nobody in my life knew about it, and it manifested itself in some very, very strange behavior. I immediately became tragically afraid of big sky and tragically afraid of open spaces and water. And I couldn't be alone up there. And I'm not a small guy. I'm not 6'2", 6'3", about 270 pounds. I'm not afraid of many things. I was petrified. And what I did was I tried to control it, and I couldn't. And then I realized, look, I'm nobody special. I found out that there were a lot of people that had had similar experiences. So I started to talk to them. That led me to recording some of those interviews. That led me to finally having the courage to share some things. And that voyage, that saga, that trip, that growth, that confession is really where the path of this film leads. And what I found out was this: sharing that and getting some perspective on that with people who had also similar experiences and had walked the same path that I did, maybe came up with slightly different conclusions or different, through their own perceptions, but had walked that same path. It gave me the courage to ask the next question and the next question, and then to open myself up to experience. And when I did that, my friend, everything changed for me into wonder.
That's very beautiful. That's the kind of happy ending that we would wish for everybody in that situation. So you created a documentary that's is being seen worldwide now and getting great reviews and garnering new audiences. Why do you think that this film, Alien Abduction Answers, is any more important than countless others out there? Why shouldn't people think that's arrogance?
You know what, brother? You put your finger right on. Thank you. It does come off a little, uppity. Here's what I'll say to you. Here's what I say to you. As you mentioned, there are countless other documentaries about aliens, UFOs, that sort of thing. Invariably, they're done by a lot smarter people than me. I wish I could tell you that, but I'm not. But usually these are done by investigators who are chock full of information. And what they do is they present that information and it goes right into your left brain. And it's so important because it really is educational. But what it lacks is two things. First of all, these people aren't filmmakers. They're just really, really smart researchers. The second thing is that it's kind of impersonal. It's like a third person narrative. You see a clip and then you hear Walter Cronkite in the back, back in 1957, that sort of thing. Okay, so I've been in the business of film and TV and that sort of thing for shoot over 30 years. So I bring a filmmaker sensitivity to it. So it's thematic presentation, but more importantly, it is a first person narrative from the very first frame. People who watch this film are with me. They're involved in the abduction. They're involved in the fear. And you must shepherd yourself through this fear because on the other side of that coin, there is that wonder. But if we ignore, if we lie about the experience, that's not fair. Some people don't experience that, but some people do. And a lot of people that I'm reaching out to are folks that have never had the courage to confront it, even if the fear is within themselves and generated by themselves. So what you are is you are on this voyage with me. You experience it first person. It is truly an immersive experience. And so as we shepherd them through that fear and come to the other side, the revelation, the salvation, the redemption that you feel is tangible and it allows the viewer to take the next steps for themselves. As opposed to something that just fed their head and now they're a lot smarter about it, but there's no impetus to maybe take the next step and to address their own issues and also partake of the joy that is really at the end of this rainbow. So that's why it's different.
What do you say to your critics?
Oh, well, first of all, I don't have a lot of time or enough time to talk about my critics. God bless. I say this, first of all, God bless them all. Secondly, I have to say that thank you very much to my critics because at least they took the time to engage in the conversation. As I said, for myself, I was a coward and I was a liar for 40 plus years. So I have to be grateful to them, first of all. The second of all is that I really have to see the folks who are saying these things or who they are. They're either folks who are haven't seen the film, and so I admonish them, please see it and then talk to me. Because I think you might have a different opinion at the end. The second one is that there are a lot of folks who are concentrated on kind of like the nuts and bolts. They want to know how fast this thing goes and the bolts and. And so what I say is, all of that is important. It's just not the focus of my work. They're concerned with the whats and the wheres, and I have to tell you that my focus is on the who's and the whys. And I think this is the analogy I use. I could have a flying car. John Yost could have a flying car. It goes a million miles an hour. I can break all kinds of records. I can go to the moon, whatever. Okay. But if I'm a great guy, if I stop at every stop sign, if I help little old ladies across the street, if I give to the poor and help and share my technology and my insights, nobody really cares about the tech anymore. If what we're seeing and what we're experiencing are positive entities who care about us, who want to engage with us, versus these are evil, animal eating, crazy aliens from Planet Nine. Okay, that is a very important question. And so that's why I am so focused on human intelligences that we are bumping into. And I think it is imperative upon ourselves in the questions not to focus on that superficial idea of the tech, but to really push deeper into the who and the spirit and the souls and the consciousnesses of these things, these entities, these intelligences that we're dealing with.
I think you touched there upon a very primary thing, which is it's not just about the lights in the sky, it's about who's piloting those things. And what I hear you talking about is the consciousness that has brought to them with whatever technology is being used, but has brought them to here, among us, to contact us. And it's a great unknown for us to reach out to such beings and ask them, well, why are you here? Not just how did you get here, as cool as that may be for a lot of left brain people like myself. But
Sure.
I like the fact that you emphasize the what I would call the heart in all of this, the beingness. There are conscious beings behind all of this phenomenon, and we have to get past the phenomena in order to find deeper answers to what they have to offer, to start a relationship, to talk with them.
Yes, sir.
So in that regard, I want to ask that in the film you mentioned consciousness.
Mm.
Now, what role would you say that plays in contact with these intelligences?
I'm a dummy. So I had no idea about any kind of connection. I was in the middle of darkness and fear, and there are metal ships landing on my house and this sort of thing. I had no idea that there was any kind of connection. And I've come to the real understanding that consciousness plays a primary role in our contact and our communication. And this is what I'll say is that, look, everybody's had this experience where you're thinking of somebody and they call you, or the vice versa. Okay, now if that happens to just you and me, Kosta, that's a coincidence. If it happens to billions of people every day, that's a condition, right? Okay, so what is that? What does it say to us? Well, what that says is that our stuff, our who we are, is not locked in this bony skull, in this gray matter. It's out here. There's something going on. I ask people all the time, I say, look, every time you have a thought, are there little guys in your head that turn a wrench? Probably not. Electronic pulse that goes from one synapse. You are an electromagnetic being. And what we are is we have to face this question. I ask people, Costa, are you this big guy that I'm looking at in this? Are you a man wearing a shirt, or are you a shirt wearing a man? Right, right. So if we took your shirt off and hung it on a chair, would it animate? Would it dance around? Of course not. That's ridiculous. So what are we? Are we consciousness souls wearing a body, or are we bodies with a soul? So I think through these little examples, I'm showing that there's much more to us than just our flesh and blood. This is it. There's much, much more. And so that communication, really, we're tapped into this flotsam that is this consciousness field. And we're picking up these signals and we're communicating these signals. And most people are just completely unaware that that's what we're doing. But this is what's happening. So when you put out things, I mean, we've had these adages since the beginning of time, man who lives by a sword dies by a sword, you know, you get what you give, you put love out there, you're going to receive love. You put out goodness, you're going to receive love. Okay, well, that's kind of, or birds of a feather flock together. The idea is that if you're putting out that feeling, that heart, that goodness, you're going to attract and you're going to resonate with other beings, other entities that resonate with that particular vibration, that particular vibe. If you were talking about politics in a bar, you would attract people who were interested in that particular subject. But putting that consciousness out there, putting that wave out there, you're going to attract the same sort of response from entities that are interested in that. And it's almost, to me, I think it's almost like, you live in Los Angeles or you live in California, so you've seen movie premieres where they have the big lights that go like this. You know what I mean? They're big spotlight. That's kind of what I have come to understand about CE5 and these circles and this ET contact is we are putting that out and we are receiving information and contact from other entities who vibrate on that level, who say, that's remarkable. Look, here we are. We're being committed. And so they respond in kind. So honestly, consciousness was not where I started, but consciousness is where I kind of ended. Towards the end of the film, I say something like this. I say, what is it about those bright, shiny lights in the sky that make me want to be a better person? It's a strange sort of, I never, ever expected. I never expected to end up there. No, not at all. So that's the part that it plays.
And that's an interesting question that many people don't ask because, and I know this from my early days in making this kind of contact where I saw the lights in the sky. The questions were, how did they do that? How did they zip around? How did they respond to me? And will they come back? And oh, look at that, look at this. And that's important. That's really great, what I call cosmic bait, to get many of us out there to stop in our lives and look up in the sky and wonder at some strange behavior that's going on up there. But I love how you say that it caused you to ask maybe not only those questions, but eventually the questions of that are more about the spirit of what's going on, about where you are in relation to what you just experienced, because that's important. It makes you confront yourself. Your box may blow open, or you may decide to hold it all inside, or whatever, but it comes back to, boy, how did you feel about that and where you are and where you're going? So I'm glad that your film addresses that through your storytelling. So in a sentence, what is this film really about, would you say?
Mm. Well, as you can tell, I'm an Irish guy. If you gave me whiskey, we'd be here for days. So I can't really do it in a sentence. Let me say this to you. This is the way I put it. This film is an extremely intimate conversation. From somebody who experienced terrifying and crippling fear. And it's really a narrative about how I confronted that and navigated this terror to come out on the other side. And what happened was I discovered I didn't have any preconceived notions. I just wanted to know. I didn't have preconceived notions. I wanted to know. And what happened was it led me in a totally unpredictable, unexpected landing place and an opportunity for truth. And by the way, this truth, I hear a lot of people talk about my truth. Look, I don't own this truth. This is not mine. This is everybody. Everybody who watches this film, it's accessible to them. Not my truth, their truth. The truth, if you will. And I really think that is the true disclosure that the world doesn't even know they're looking for. Mm. It's not how fast does that machine go. It's really about us and our interactions and who we are and where we're going to be and the choices we make from here. Because once that door's open, Kosta, you can tell me better than I can. Once that door's open, brother, you have some real decisions to make. And they're really important. And they're not just important for you as an individual. They're important for all of us. Because this film is not about those bright, shiny lights in the sky. That's part of it. But it's more about you and me and our souls, our consciousnesses, and where we're going, and us as a people, us as a species.
That anticipates the next question I was going to ask, which is where you see your film fitting into the larger narrative of what's going on Earth at this time. I mean, as many people know, we're in existential moments of many different ways that we could end life as we know it on Earth, with a breakdown or with the possibility to make a breakthrough. And I have a feeling that your film is on the part of helping people to make that breakthrough. But I'll let you speak in your own words, where you see it fitting into this really larger picture of Earth and what these civilizations that we know are here visiting are aware of that's going on here, and how they might maybe even appreciate what it is that you're bringing forth and asking the questions that you're asking. So yeah, how do you think you fit into the really, really big picture?
Well, I'm a very, very small piece. I'll say that. But what I hope to do is that I hope to beg the question. I hope to present people who are fascinated maybe by the subject, afraid of the subject, people who have been experiencing things that they don't understand. I hope to offer them an opportunity to explore this through a measured and quiet and safe place, so that they can come to a reasoned endpoint for themselves. And having said that, a reason endpoint is not blowing up everybody. All right. I mean, I appeal to the very, very best of us, which is the love and honor and empathy that we have. I've learned myself, I used to be a very, very critical person. And, I'm spending a lot of time looking in the mirror and not pleased, not pleased. So it has allowed me to expand my purview. And what I'm hoping to do is help other people expand their scope. And as soon as they do, they realize that they are not alone. They are part and parcel, very important, as you have said many times, very, very important, but literally a part of something much bigger than themselves. And that I'm hoping that it plays a part in changing people's mind, or at least giving them an alternative to say, okay, well, listen, I can blow them up or I can do. No, but have you ever experienced this? Have you ever thought of this? And if we can start that conversation, hey, it doesn't have to be about me. I'll step back, go on, because you guys are smarter than me. But I'm hoping it plays a small part in allowing people another option.
That's excellent. People do need their options these days. We don't want to be on just one track of doom and gloom.
Mm.
So, what's next for you in the future?
Well, here at the end of my film, I'm frustrated because I went, oh, well, now I know. But that's not the end. I mean, as soon as you have the information, right, your mind says, well, now what? And so my first film is Alien Abduction Answers, which which takes the world where it is. I don't force people to say, listen, you must be elevated. No, no. I say, look, the world is filled with ignorance, meaning there's missing information, okay? And there are bad opinions about certain things. They're in ignorance, which allows them to hear. That's what it did to me, right? I'm being honest with everybody. That's what it did to me, and it crippled me. But take them from that place and shepherd them through to a place of some understanding. I know I'm not a guru. I don't know everything. But as soon as you start to get some of this information, your mind, your soul, you start to put pieces together. You start to go, aha, there's an equal sign at the end of this equation. My second film is going to be called Alien Abduction Awakening. And what that does is it takes the viewer from that place of some understanding to integration. Because after you have the information, if I eat kale, it's good for me. Well, that's a great information. I should probably take the kale in and do something for myself, right? So this integration is after we have that bit of truth, how do we amplify it? How do we apply it to our lives? How do we share it? Doesn't it change our perspective? Doesn't it change our behavior? Doesn't it change the way we think? And that integration. And there are very, very special people. And I've mentioned to you that I consider you one and your dear wife, Hollis. These are people who have had this revelation, who have taken it upon themselves to integrate that information and act upon it and how it's changed their lives, this sort of thing. And I think it's very, very important to have the training manual, if you will, after you have the information. And then I have an idea for a third film called Alien Abduction Ascension. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, that's woo." I mean, this is a common theme in all of my work. These films, this work is about us. It's about you and me and us. Okay, I'm not talking about us flying around in angel wings. What I'm saying is that all of us have been born. So we were all new to this information. We all bumped our heads. We all toddled. We all made mistakes. We all screwed up. We all stood up finally. We all were able to walk a little bit. Then we were able to run. And where does that running lead? Well, that'll be up to you to decide.
That's right. That it all comes back down to each of us, doesn't it? And it is
Yes,
up
sir.
to us. We can take
Yes,
all the
sir.
information in the world, but and I like that because what I appreciate about your presentation of this and your energy around this is that there is no guru kind of energy here, like
Mm.
uh, I have all the answers, listen to me or else, et cetera, a control trip that we've seen way too much of and continue to see out there in our field. And that's what I
Yeah.
love about your approach, your filmmaking, is that you are really empowering the audience. You're giving them information, the benefit of your journey, what you've discovered, but also leading them to a place outside of themselves where they can take the next steps. And I like that. I look forward to the upcoming two films that you mentioned that follow this one, and those are
Yes, sir.
Alien Abduction, Awakening,
Awakening.
Abduction, Ascension.
Yes, sir.
So, is there any message as we conclude now that you want to leave with the audience, like for not to forget a website or an email or whatever contact information you want to provide, and a
Sure.
closing message?
Sure. I thank you again, Costa. Thank you. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, my name is John Yost, Yost, and I made a film called Alien Abduction Answers. In North America, you can find it anywhere: Amazon, iTunes, Apple, whatever. Just Google it, you'll find it. Internationally, it'll be available April 15th, 2023. So we're very excited about that. Um, please see it if you can. Please let me know what you think. You can find me on Facebook or Twitter. If you don't like it, if you like it, if it's touched you, if you think I can do something better, please let me know. I really want to know how I can help. And and as I said, you can Google me. Also, I work. The company that I work with is called rhinopictures.com. RYNO pictures.com, and I'll be developing other films through them. And I've worked there for over 13 years. So um, it's the most important thing for me is this: that you engage. Screw me, screw my work, screw everything. Engage. Don't be afraid, because fear will cripple you, and it will truncate anything. It will truncate your potentiality. God bless you all. I want you to win. Win in everything you do.
Thank you, John. Those are beautiful sentiments. Love will liberate all of us. It's the only way. So thank you for sharing your time and your spirit here. And I urge people to, you'll see up on the screen here, the different ways you can contact John. I urge you to check it out, check out the film. Please share it with everyone you know. It's a different kind of film than what you see out there. And I think that's what makes it special in a really heartwarming and mind-opening kind of way. Good for the spirit. Thanks again, John.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.